Hello folks, Tony Lee Glenn here, and I've had a viewer ask a simple question, actually sort of several simple questions, and then had some other recent questions about underwater with using the GoPro Hero 3 underwater. I'm going to read you his question, the essence of it here. Hey Tony, I'm getting my GoPro Hero 3 Black in a few days and I want to shoot underwater videos, so how does it work? Can I choose a standard or pro tune mode on the camera? Can I modify the video later, brightness, contrast, hue, saturation? Also, if I shot just in standard mode, I guess, what is he to expect? So thanks a lot for your answer. I always like to, if you have multiple questions, I like to answer that with a video, so I'm going to jump right in. I have over here some housings for the GoPro Hero 3, and I have 3 GoPro Hero 3s. So I'm shooting on 2 of them, and then I'm holding this one to show you kind of how everything works. When your Hero 3 comes, it probably will come in one of these housings. It seems like mine did. Most of the time anymore, I use mine just, I bought one of these things here called just the frame. I like shooting using this because then that's fewer pieces of glass between the lens and the real world. And you just, you protect the lens with these little caps, the little lens caps that come with it. So I'm going to go ahead and take this one off and, from the housing I usually use. And almost all of them will come like this. These are the things you use to connect those. A little screw. So this is, I'm going to take this one out of this. You just kind of bend it and get it out of there like that. And so there are different housings you can get. This is the most standard one that is waterproof. It has this white seal around it. Now you also have this other one here that lets it breathe a little bit more. You can get more sound into it. As you can see, your microphones are on the outside of the Hero 3. There's the microphones, just little tiny holes there on this side. So you're not going to get much sound when you're underwater, right? But you're underwater. But the way the GoPros go in there, just like that, the lens fits right into that. Then you make sure this thing closes around it. You pull this little thing right here back around it, and it snaps right in shut. And then, of course, you can take these things, if you want to put them on a mount or anything, you just stick it in there, run your screw back through, and that's what you got. If you buy some of the backpack devices, okay, like for instance, right here, what have I got? I got the GoPro extra battery. If you want to, really power it up for long-term underwater shooting, or if you can also buy the little, I also own the little LED display so you can see what you're shooting. I don't use it very often. It's very good. I just point the GoPro now and trust that what I'm getting is pretty good, because typically it does turn out well. But the battery is really cool to have. But what that does, that increases the thickness of this here, right? So I've got one where I've put the thicker housing. This thing's come with one that's it's thicker than the other one. See how that one's real narrow this way and this one's thick. Now, one of the most confusing things that when I first got my GoPro Hero 3 is how do you get these things off and switch them? And if you look right here, right there is a little piece of metal. And that, all you have to do really is, I had to watch a YouTube video to understand it, is you just kind of have to forcefully, not hard, but just kind of push it a little bit like this, and it pops right out. See, this thing right here just kind of snaps into that. So, if you're going to put a backpack on, a battery or something like that, you're going to do this. You're going to snap it on here like you would typically do. And it creates a much larger, thicker, a little bit heavier GoPro, but you got twice the battery power. Put that in here, do this, then you go across the top. Ah, my bad. You push it in with your thumb, you snap it in. So there I've got one that is, I always try to keep these things really clean. You see I got my fingerprints and stuff on it there now. I carry some little Carl Zeiss lens wipes, because now you're shooting through, this, which is almost like a filter now. That's really just clear glass, but then you got your lens underneath it. This is, as long as you make sure that you've sealed this, just make sure you get it snapped in really good. It'll keep your GoPro very dry. I've shot probably 4 times underwater with these. And what I do, naturally, to answer your question, the immediate question was, does it work good? Yeah, it works great. You can put these things on a little mic handle, and you can carry them around. There's different mounts and stuff that GoPro uses for underwater. I just prefer to carry mine around with me, and I mount it on a little handheld mic stand, which you may have seen me use in some other videos. So yeah, that's as simple as it is. All your controls in are right here. Once you got these buttons, extend the buttons that are in there on your GoPro, so I can push that. And I don't know if you can tell or not, but right there the GoPro just powered up, and I can see the 00 in there, which means I'm ready to shoot a piece of video. And of course, to do your Wi-Fi controls over here, and to record, you're going to press this up here. So everything works just great. So the second question, how does it work? What settings should I use? Should I use ProTune? ProTune is a high data rate mode for recording video. Gives you a good extra amount of data, sort of like how Camera Raw is if you're shooting in using a DSLR to shoot photos. So the answer to the question in short is, if you want to be able to increase the depth of shadows, or if you want to be able to pull stuff out of shadows, if you want to have, a little bit more clarity, if you want to have the ability to ramp up the colors a little bit more than you would if you shot in standard mode, then I would shoot in ProTune. When do I use ProTune? I use ProTune if I'm out working on a freelance job that I'm going to get paid for. They're larger files. You can edit them without having to do any kind of conversion in Adobe Premiere Pro CC. So whatever your editing program is, whatever your editing program is, your NLE, your nonlinear editor, you just need to find out if it can work with ProTune Video. Adobe Premiere Pro CC does work with it. I'm not sure what you'll be using to edit. The Cineform Studio program that comes with that you can get for free with the GoPro Hero 3 will do some really good conversions, and you can do some editing and things with the ProTune Video. Honestly, 90% of the time, if I know I'm not being paid, I'm just doing some blogging, the standard video looks pretty darn great. I would use the ProTune if you think you're going to be shooting underwater and it's going to be dark or darker. You're not going to shoot in the dark. You're not going to get anything. But make sure, if you go into some quite deep depths, I would say if you're going, maybe if you're scuba diving, you're going under 30 feet, it starts to get pretty murky. You might get better results if you shoot in ProTune, because you can brighten that video a good bit more. You ask a question, can I brighten the video? Can I change contrast? Can I change hue, saturation? I almost always do that. And what I do, I use a combination of brightness, contrast, and fast color corrector, sometimes three-way color corrector, sometimes RGB color corrector in Adobe Premiere Pro CC. And it's an excellent program for editing these GoPro videos, really any video. So I'm sure if you're using Final Cut, if you're using iMovie, if you're using Premiere Pro CC, that's my recommended NLE. If you like Sony Vegas, I've used that too. Awesome program. Any of those will allow you to brighten the video, to change your contrast, to change your hue, saturation, to apply shadow highlights type effects, to slow it down, speed it up. I'm not, what I shoot underwater typically are exercise videos. I have an exercise program, and I'll put a link to it right now on the video here, and I'll also put a link in the description so you can see kind of what I do. It's just a workout that I've designed. And I've started to go a couple times into some really deep holes in creeks locally here in the Appalachian Mountains. I'd like to get some like brown trout and rainbow trout underwater. And so I'm going to eventually do that. Not had a chance to this summer. We had flooding up here, and some people actually got killed locally because the flash flooding caused the creeks to swell to extreme levels. It's kind of unpredictable hitting the creeks up in the Appalachian Mountains, but there's some gorgeous things that need to be shot underwater with the GoPro Hero 3. To sum it all up, I would shoot with ProTune if you're getting paid for it, because it's bigger video and it takes up more space on your hard drive. If you think you're going to have to really pull stuff out of the shadows, if you think you're going to be shooting in a darker, deeper spot, if you're going to be shooting in the top 10 feet of most any water on a clear day where there's lots of sunlight, then you'll do just as well to shoot in standard mode. And the frame rates, field of view, that's totally up to you. I really love to shoot a lot in 48 frames per second, 1080p. If you want something really expansive, you might pick a larger frame rate, like larger frame size, like 2.7K, 4K. The GoPro Hero 3 offers all those things, and it's really a pleasure to shoot underwater. It will stay dry. I hope this has helped. Happy shooting out there with your GoPro Hero 3. You will be pleased with what you get underwater. It's pretty amazing. That was one of the main reasons I originally bought the GoPro Hero 3, is I was intrigued by shooting underwater. I'm a big avid swimmer. I'm a big heavy guy, so the water's kind of an equalizer when it comes to workouts. All right, stay cool. Any other questions you got? Anybody else wants to add any knowledge or expertise? Please leave a message in the comments. Peace to all, and good night.